I want the pop, the shiny one, which is my right.
Jason, welcome to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So first, Jay, I've known you for over 20 years, and I was introduced to you through a mutual friend, Kevin Blakegrove.
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember this, but I met you the night that Al Cowlings was driving OJ on the highway eluding police because we were going to a York University house party. I don't know if you remember that.
Wow.
You don't remember that, do you?
I do not. Your memory is so good.
Yo, I got that locked, man.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. And when he was being chased by LAPD,
yes,
I still remember what I was doing. So I was waiting for Kevin to pick me up, and you were in the car as well.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I remember those house parties. Those were good ones, man.
Yeah. Okay, so Jay, you told me something interesting about your name.
Yes.
So I met you as Jason Yee. Yes. I say this with deep conviction after what you shared with me. Your name is Jason Yee Shui. Yes. So can you share with the viewers and the listeners what you shared with me about your name?
Yeah, it was so interesting. You know, I had unfortunately had a family member pass away in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And we went down there to, go to the funeral. And I noticed, like, on the actual programs, it was saying Yee Shui was the last name. And so I'm reading this thing and I'm saying, hold on, he's our family, right? He, like, why does this name look different? And, I started to hear all kinds of different stories, man. There were so many different reasons as to why it was changed or why the name wasn't really what I had all my life. Mm-hmm. And so what I had discovered was that I had a great grandfather who came from Shanghai, and he immigrated to Jamaica. Now, the story, we don't know how it was. We don't know if he was like escaping communism, if he just got thrown on a boat and ended up in Jamaica. Like, we don't know how he got there. Yeah. We just know he got there. And when he got there, his name was Yee Shui.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, he dropped his name and it was just Yee. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew our family as just Yee for all those years until this particular uncle had passed. Right. And once I saw the name on there and I said, oh, this is really what our full name is. Mm-hmm. I came back home and I legally changed my name. Wow. And I said, man, if he's the only family member out of like 200 plus people in our family, mm-hmm. I said, you know what? I have to have that name and try to preserve it. So that's what I did, man. I came back, did the legal name change, and now I'm a Yee Shui.
I respect that, man. I respect that.
Yeah, man. There's power in the name, There's really a lot of power in the name. And I think that we need to embrace that and own that.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that with everyone.
No problem, man.
So sometimes it takes a while for people to find their passion in life, or I could even say life's passion. Tell me about your path that led you to where you are in your profession.
Well, it's an unlikely path because, my original career path was social work. I was working with kids and families in child welfare, in group homes and schools. And so, I didn't know that I was going to end up in real estate. It really kind of came about because
Wait, before you continue, did you take that in school? Where you went to York, right? You went to York.
No. I didn't go to York. I went to Centennial College.
Okay.
I hung around with everybody from York. So everyone thought I was a Yorkie. Definitely. For a minute, I did go to York, but I'll backtrack a little bit. I originally went to Centennial College, and that's where I took child and youth work.
Okay.
Right. And that's what I got my diploma in. All right. So when I was deciding to pursue, I guess, education, I wanted to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. I went to York briefly on a part-time basis. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to get a degree there. But, halfway through, I guess, that program, I just got fed up of going to school. Mm-hmm. And I always talked about real estate. I remember my girlfriend at the time, she was saying, listen, you know what, like, if you don't like go and become a realtor, then I don't want to have any more conversations with you about real estate because you're constantly talking about homes and the value of properties and the architecture and all this kind of stuff. So you need to just go out there and get it. And so it was interesting because I had an epiphany. One day I was in a sociology class, halfway through the lecture, it just came to me. And I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of taking courses that I don't know if I'm ever going to use.
Yeah.
And I got up and I left that class, never went back.
Are you
And
serious?
from there, yeah, very serious, man. And then from there, I basically went to the Ontario Real Estate Association. I inquired about how to get the real estate license. I signed up for it. And 9 months later, I had my real estate license and I was ready to go.
Well, see, this is what I like hearing, you know. I've heard a couple stories like that. I interviewed a guy named Wrench Turner, right? North Carolina. And he was in Amazon. And one day he went to work and he's wearing his own clothing line. And he looked around and he walked out. And right there, he made his decision in life, you know, I'm gonna take care of me. You know what I mean?
Sure. No,
and
definitely.
my friend Lamin did the same thing. He was working at Mutual, what is it called? Manual Life Financial.
Yes.
And he did the same thing. It's like that epiphany, like you said, it comes to you one day. He was sitting down doing his data entry, and then he's a crazy artist. He's like, what am I doing here?
Yes.
And he just changed his life that day. So I'm glad you shared that story, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Okay. But you still like the social work aspect of caring for kids and things like that, right? You still.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you know, really, I kind of see, it's interesting because I actually see real estate as somewhat of a social work profession.
Okay.
Because it's very much a relationship type of business. All right. You have to wear so many different hats when you're working with somebody, whether they're a buyer or they're a seller. You have to understand that individual. And so my counseling skills and just my analytical skills, they really helped me when I was negotiating with clients. Okay. And even with other agents, just managing the different personalities and knowing how to adjust myself so that I could relate to people. Those skills were invaluable, man. They really came in handy in my profession. So what I consider social work skills, I consider them to be transferable skills. That were very, very useful in my real estate profession. Nice. So,
okay, now I'm glad you got into this buyer and seller talk because I received a lot of questions from friends and some of the Instagram followers, questions from both the buyer's perspective and the seller's perspective.
Yes.
So I'm going to try and see, because I fused a lot of the questions together.
Right.
So housing prices are getting so expensive now. And for first-time home buyers, what is some advice you can give to someone searching for a home? And we can break it down into sections too. So things to consider. Now, if I say to you, location, what advice would you have about location? And you can relate it to family, a couple, or an individual looking for property.
Right. Okay. So the very first thing I will say is this, right? In terms of location, you have to be flexible.
Okay.
All right. And you have to make sure that your needs and your wants aren't being confused. Okay. Sometimes the location you want is not necessarily what you can afford.
True.
Right. So then you have to adjust and say, listen, okay, am I going to just stick and be like, you know, hard nosed and say, I have to get what I want? Or am I just going to look for what I need right now? I need a home and it may not be exactly in the location that I'm looking for, but it might be close. If it's within like 10, 20 minutes of the location I'm looking for, you know, you have to ask yourself, is that good enough? Right? At least for now, until my home appreciates in value, and then maybe I can sell that property and get what I want in the location that I really, really desire.
Okay.
Right? So for a first-time home buyer, definitely, I think that for location, you have to be flexible.
Right.
You really have to be flexible and, you know, not be stuck in like only one place that you want to live, because right now it's so competitive out there and it's difficult to find something in the location that you desire.
Yeah, good answer, man. Because sometimes we want to be in a specific place for whatever reason that is. There's many reasons, and we're stuck on it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it might not fit us at that moment in life.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Hey, okay, now condo versus house versus townhouse. So I got a lot of questions. First-time home buyers, what should I invest in? What property? Do you have something like that?
Okay, well, the first thing I will say is this, is that, you know, a lot of people talk about real estate as being an investment. All right. Now, I'm going to break this down a little bit for some people. All right.
Okay.
When it's your primary residence, okay, it's hard for you to really view it as an investment. The reason why I say that is because normally we look at investments as sort of black and white, right? It's either making money or it's losing money. All right. But you can't look at that. You can't look at your home, your primary residence that way. If my home is making money, it may not be the right time to sell because maybe my family structure, the dynamic, the age of my kids, the school that they're in right now, wherever my other family's located, it just may not be the right time to sell. So you can't properly manage that investment when it's so close to home, right? So if you have a second property, to me, that is more of an investment.
Okay.
Right? A third property is an investment because you can manage those things without any emotional attachment to it.
Makes sense.
But when you have your primary residence, you can't always view your primary residence as an investment. You got to just look at it as, I need to get a home. Right? So now we're talking about condo versus townhouse versus a detached home. A lot of it has to do with what stage of life you're in. You know, people got to look at it in terms of like a car, right? I mean, if I don't got the money, listen, I can't drive the Bentley right now.
Right.
All right. I just got to settle with the Honda, right? And just, you know, be okay with that right now, just to get me from point A to point B. Houses are built in the same way. They're built for different stages of people's lives.
Right.
So a condo, you know, depending on if it's a 1 or 2 bedroom condo, maybe that's best for like a single person or just a couple that's starting out, right? Just to get their feet wet. You see, with condos, one thing that's great about condos is that you don't have to maintain the exterior of the property. You don't got to worry about the roof. You don't got to worry about the furnace. You don't got to worry about any flooding happening in the basement and that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
You don't have to worry about lawn care or snow removal, any of that kind of stuff, right? So that's good when you're just kind of getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
With a townhouse is considered to be like an entry-level property, right? To get into the freehold properties realm, right? And that might be a good fit if somebody's moving up, right? Now they have a child, maybe they have 2 children, right? That's a good, affordable option for them. Now, if they're looking for their forever home, this is where I want to sort of live for the rest of my life. Okay, now we might go into the detached. That's after you've built up equity from the previous homes you've purchased, and now you get the big property, right? So to me, you have to view these properties as, what do I need at this stage in my life, right? Sometimes bigger isn't always better. And so we need to just, you know, think about that stuff along the way.
Yeah. And affordability is always top of mind too.
Well, of course. I mean, you know, that's first and foremost. Like really, when people are looking for a home, you know, the very first person they usually go to is a realtor.
Right.
And to be honest with you, that's not the first person you should go to. The first person you should go to is a financial mortgage specialist, someone to look into how you're going to actually purchase this home. Like, do you have the money under your mattress, or you got to go to a bank and get financing? Well, most of us have to get financing, right?
Right.
So we got to get that locked up first before we end looking at any house, right? We don't want to look at anything until we know that we can afford it.
Yeah, and that led to my next question, which is price and down payment. So I've talked to a lot of people. I've been a homeowner for 20 years.
Yes.
But, I've talked to a lot of people that get discouraged because of that. I don't even know what it is now. The 25%. Can you talk about the down payment and try and encourage people what they should do when it comes to saving up, what they should put down? Is there any help? Because you know what? I think when we first purchased our house, we were with CMHC or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, what about that?
So basically, you can purchase a home with as little as 5% down. Okay. Now, anything from 5% to 20%, you're going to have to get what we call homeowners insurance. Right. It's the government instituted insurance that protects the bank from, you know, someone defaulting on their mortgage. Right. So if you put less than 20% down on a mortgage, the bank kind of sees it as a higher risk. So you have to pay an insurance. Now that's non-negotiable. You can't say, I don't want to pay the insurance. You have to pay it because it protects the bank. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the bank. And if the bank says that I'm going to give you the money, then they want to make sure that their money's protected. Okay.
Yeah.
So ideally, you want to put less, you want to put more than 20% down, 20% or more down, ideally, to avoid that CMHC premium.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason why you want to do this is because that premium gets added to your mortgage and becomes part of your principal, becomes part of the amount that you owe back to the bank. So now what happens is you're actually paying interest on that money.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just say, for example, it's $10,000 that you have to pay for insurance. Okay. That $10,000 gets added to your, $500,000 mortgage.
Right.
And you're paying interest now on $510,000. Right. It may not seem like a lot, right? But when you look at that interest over time, okay, over like a 20-year span, it adds up to a lot. So you want to avoid that at all costs. In terms of like saving for a down payment, obviously more is better, right? But with the prices of properties right now, it's very challenging to come up with a reasonable down payment.
Right.
For example, Peter, like you could say, okay, listen, I got $50,000 saved up. And I could tell you right now, 50,000 isn't enough.
Yep.
Okay, 50,000 is like a deposit for a lot of properties, right? Now,
so true.
It's not even the down payment. So you've really got to come up with a very sizable down payment. And I would say, and I don't want to scare people, but like with the prices of properties in the GTA, man, it's got to be something that's closer to 6 figures.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And for you to even have like a shot at getting something reasonable. All right. And I say right now, what people really need to do when they're thinking about saving is you may not be able to do it on your own. You may need to pool your resources together, whether it's with family, whether it's with siblings, cousins, whoever, friends, even if that's what you want to do, and put that money together to purchase a home that can build up equity over time. Because the sooner you get into the market, the faster you're able to build up the equity.
Right.
All right. And the rate that the equity is going to get built up is going to be a lot faster than your ability to save.
I get it.
So that's really my advice to people right now is start saving as soon as possible and maybe consider pooling your resources with somebody else to buy your first home.
Yeah. We actually had help buying this house 20 years ago, man.
Yeah.
My brother, my wife's cousin, my mom, like just to get that down payment. And what's funny? Housing prices back then, like 100-something thousand, you know what I mean? And now it's worth over 600,000-700,000. It's just crazy.
Oh, I know.
Like, I felt like I missed the boat, man. You know what I mean? I wish someone taught me about real estate when I was in my 20s, man. But yeah.
No, but I mean, the fact that you were able to purchase that property way back then for 100-some-odd thousand, and now it's worth 600,000. I mean, look at the starting point for people today.
Yeah,
their first property is starting at that 600,000-700,000.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And if you really look at our income levels from 20 years ago till now, I mean, they haven't increased that much.
That's what I was gonna say. It's not relative. You know what I mean?
No.
We usually say it's relative. Like, oh yeah, we're making more. No.
Yeah. It's not relative. It's not relative at all. And that is really the Achilles heel of a lot of people right now, is that their down payments are not large enough and their incomes are not large enough, right? Even people who are 6-figure earners, okay, in a household are struggling to afford properties. I'm talking on the average properties, right? So imagine for people who are making less than 6 figures, right?
Trust me,
it's going to be even more challenging for them.
So do you work, service all GTA? Because I know you service the Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa, but all GTA too, right? Even the west or north of us in Toronto?
Well, I'm licensed to service all of Ontario, that's not smart to try to service all of Ontario. So you do have to kind of pick a geographical neighborhood. I live in the Durham region, so the majority of my business is in Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa. Okay. Right. But I have sold properties all throughout the GTA. So yes, over into the West End, we're talking Peel region, even like Oakville, these kind of areas too. Like, I mean, I've sold properties out in these areas also. And then as far north, I mean, we're going to, Port Perry sometimes, and even like Newmarket, Innisfil, Barrie, like these kind of areas as well. So I've serviced all of the GTA and the surrounding communities.
Yeah.
But my primary focus, and I would say the majority of my business, is in Durham region for sure.
In the East. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, you know what? One of my coworkers, he was upset because bidding, when it comes to bidding now, that's something I don't know about really. I want you to expand on that, because you don't know what the next person's bidding on a house that you're interested in. And there's so many people like, and I don't know if I read something in the news about, I don't know, something about bidding, man. Just let me know about the bidding wars. What you should really bid at the house. Should you overbid? Things like that.
Okay, it's an ugly word. I mean, bidding multiple offers that's another ugly word. But you know what? It's part of the real estate fabric right now. We just can't get around it, and a lot of it has to do with supply and demand. Okay, we don't have enough supply. We have way more demand than we need, and of course that's driving prices up. Okay, but what's compounding the issue is that, unfortunately, like, the properties that are being listed are not being priced at their true market value. Okay, so I would say the very first thing that people need to understand is that at minimum, you should assume that any property that's listed today is going to go for at least 100,000 over its asking price. At least. Okay. Now, in some pockets of the GTA, it's going to go for even more. I've seen properties go for 400,000 to 600,000 more than what they've actually been listed for. And that to me is just ridiculously crazy.
Wow. Okay.
But as a home buyer, that's what you need to be thinking. Okay. The whole idea around multiple bids is this. Okay. Let's say the properties are selling for $1 million. Okay. We know from data that is what's happening. Okay. The strategy is to price that property, roughly about 100,000 less than what the market value is. So they might price it at like $899. Okay. Everybody flocks after the property. You have like, 200 showings. Okay. And then all of a sudden, and then what the agent does is they'll say, well, we're going to hold back offers. We're not going to take the offers right away. We're going to hold back for about a week. Okay. So you don't have an opportunity to put an offer in for about a week. So what that creates is a bottleneck. Okay. Of a lot of people interested in the same property. All right. And as a result, that creates the multiple bidding war. Okay. All right. And unfortunately, with our rules that we have right now, we can't disclose what other people are bidding. Right. Okay. So that becomes like a blind offer. Yeah. Right. We don't know what our blind bid. All right. What other people are offering. So that's sort of the situation that's happening in the GTA right now in our real estate market. Almost every property, I would probably go to say, 9 out of 10 properties are going to have an offer date scheduled, okay, for their property. And then what they're going to do is they're going to hold back and they're going to take all the bids at once. Okay. Now, when you put the offer in, you have to understand that your offer is really not good unless it's a firm deal, meaning there's no conditions. No inspection, no financing condition. You don't want any conditions in there. Now, of course, for a first-time home buyer, that's a huge risk, right? Right. Okay. So you have to really make sure that your financing is 100% qualified, all right, and approved. All right. You want to make sure that you have presented all of your documents, all your financial records, everything to your mortgage specialist to make sure that the bank knows exactly what you earn. You don't want something conditional on you providing documents to the bank. You want something that's approved based on you submitting documents to the bank. Okay. Okay, that's very important. Once you have that unlocked, then you have to discuss with your mortgage specialist, listen, what is my threshold? Like, what's my absolute upper limit? Okay, if my upper limit is 950, do not go past 950. Yeah. Then you're not going to get that house. All right, that's going for $1 million plus. That's listed at $899. You should be looking at a property that's $799. Okay. Okay. Because the likelihood of that property going 100, 150 over asking, right, is high, right? So you have to make sure that you're within a range that you could actually compete. Makes sense. Right. But if you're not in a position where you can compete because you don't know your financials, you don't know what you're approved for, you're going to lose almost every time. Right. So you have to have everything unlocked. You have to have the finances in order. That's why I
Yeah.
say that's the most important thing. You also have to be very aware and maybe have somebody come with you that
Mhm.
knows a little bit about houses, because you may not have an opportunity to do a home inspection.
Right.
Okay. Now, some realtors, they will offer a home inspection report for you, right? That was done by the homeowner,
Mhm.
by a third party inspector,
Mhm.
and that inspection report may be available. So you can always request it to at least see what the inspection says. All
Mhm.
right, to kind of give you peace of mind. But the main thing is that you have to have the financing in order for you to feel comfortable.
Makes sense. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you touched on home inspection, because 20 years ago, I didn't understand what this really meant. And then,
Right.
certain things came up in my house where it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And we were given a big book. And, I'm not
Yes.
going to read this book. I was like 20 something years old. And I'm like, what's everything he checked?
Right.
But now I
Right.
know the importance of it. Can you expand on the importance of that home inspection?
Yeah. The home inspection is vital, right?
Mhm.
Especially for a new homeowner. I mean, when you move into a property, there's a lot of unknowns, right? Like some people don't even know like where the furnace is located.
Right,
What does the
right.
furnace even do? Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do I get heat coming into my house? How does cool
Yeah,
air come into my house?
yeah.
And all of those things can be explained by the home inspector, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I think is the most valuable piece, is that with anything that you buy, you should know how it works,
Of course.
right?
Mhm.
If you buy a car, if you buy an electronic device, if you buy anything, an appliance, it usually comes with a manual, right? We
Mhm.
don't go through it, don't look at it. But listen, once there's a problem that comes up, we're flipping through the pages trying to figure out like what's the problem here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The home inspection kind of gives you a nice summary, right, of all of the major components of your home, right? So you're going to look at your heating and ventilation system. So you're going to look at your furnace, you're going to look at your AC, your air conditioning unit. You're going to look at, if there's a humidifier. They're going to inspect the roof. They're going to check to see whether or not, listen, your home is actually sealed properly. They're going to check your windows, right? They're going to check your electrical, make sure your electrical panel can service any of the electrical appliances you have in your home and the lighting that you have in your home. They're going to check your plumbing, right?
Right.
They're going to do some tests on the wet areas of your home to make sure there aren't any leaks or something that's showing up, or moisture levels showing up behind the walls, right?
Mhm.
These are all very, very important things for you to know about your home before you buy it. If there's any structural damage, right, there's usually some sort of indicators, right, cracks in the foundation that they'll be able to identify to let you know,
Mhm.
listen, like this property's about to fall down. I don't think you should buy this property
Yeah.
because there's a lot of cracks here. And
Mhm.
it's happened, like, and even on new homes, guys, it's going to happen too. Like I had a client where there was a crack in the foundation, all right, in
Okay.
the basement.
Yeah.
And we were concerned that like water was coming in. We saw evidence of water. We saw what we call effluence. It's a white powdery substance like
Okay.
that's on the wall.
Mhm.
And we said, listen, we need to do a test. We went outside. We actually poured some water along the basement
Mhm.
wall there, and we saw the water coming in.
Wow.
And from
Yeah.
there, like
Mhm.
the seller was like, you know what? I don't think that there's anything wrong with my house. Like, what are you talking about? And then they saw the water come in for themselves, and then they ended up fixing it, right? And that
Mhm.
was just a relief for my client, because otherwise, they wouldn't have known about it if they
Mhm.
didn't have the inspection, and they would have found out about it later, and it would have just been an issue they'd have to deal with on their own. So
Wow.
home inspections are vital,
Mhm.
but in this climate, in this sort of situation that we have right now with supply and demand,
Mhm.
a lot of people are foregoing the home inspections. They're just not doing them
Ooh.
because they want to get the house, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's vital in this particular market to maybe have somebody come along that's an experienced homeowner, or somebody who's in construction, or somebody that can at least give you some advice
Mhm.
as to whether or not they believe the house seems to be sound just by a visual check,
Mhm.
you know?
So, I used to have conversations with people. I haven't had them in a while, but because I don't know a lot of people that are renting, but I remember when people were
Yeah,
renting apartments or basement apartments, whatever it is, and sometimes in whole houses in some cases.
right.
And then we used to say, with what you're paying in rent, you can afford your own house. But after this conversation that we're having, what do you say about those
Yeah.
sentiments when someone's paying like $2,000 in rent, but there's other expenses with the house? What's your take on that now? Where someone might say, I can afford it too because I'm paying this much.
Well, my thing is you can afford the mortgage payment.
Yeah.
But can you afford the down payment
Right.
required to, first of all, get the house?
Mhm.
And then above and beyond that mortgage payment, do you have extra money for, unknown things that may come up?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay, you get a roof leak. Okay, now I got to repair my roof. Okay,
Mhm.
$5,000 later, you've repaired your roof,
Mhm.
right? Or listen, my furnace just broke down, so now I got to pay another $5,000 to get a new furnace installed. Or my air
Yeah.
conditioning unit just broke down, so now I got a $5,000 for that too. Or
Mhm.
there's a leak in my basement. Okay, now I got to repair that, so now another $2,000 to repair that. So we just added up a bunch of things. What if all those things go at once?
Yeah.
Right?
Yo,
So now
so
I got
true.
20, $30,000 out of my pocket. Like, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Right? So when renters say that, like, I get that. And
Mhm.
listen, man, I was guilty of saying that kind of stuff when I was a new agent, and I was telling people that, yeah, if you're renting and stuff like that, and you're paying X amount of dollars right now, you can definitely afford to purchase a home.
Mhm.
But there's other things involved, okay? And the main thing is that down payment. All
Right.
right, is the thing you got to come up with. And with the prices of properties now, it is so difficult for you to save enough money above and beyond what you're already paying for rent
Mhm.
to also save for that down payment.
Mhm.
Um, the one thing I will say is this, though, right, is that renting isn't 100% bad,
Yeah.
right? Like, renting serves a purpose
Mhm.
at a particular stage in your life,
Yeah.
right? And I
Mhm.
think that some people need to rent on a temporary basis,
Mhm.
right? Because it gets them into a property, all right, for a relatively cheap amount of
Mhm.
money, okay? And if they needed more space, it's a lot cheaper for them to upgrade to a larger space when they're renting rather than purchasing. Like,
Yeah.
if I need an extra bedroom, it may only cost me a few $100s more for an extra bedroom if I'm
Mhm.
renting. If I need an extra bedroom in a house, it's going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars
Thousands.
more
Yeah.
to get an
Yeah.
extra bedroom, right?
True.
So I think that, people have to view renting a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's good to rent on a temporary basis just to get yourself organized, get your footing, even to just experience what it's like to run your own household,
Mhm.
what it's like to have your own bills and
Mhm.
just, manage your own finances. Like, sometimes that is something that you need to do on a temporary basis. Just get yourself prepared for
Yeah.
home ownership,
Right. Right.
right?
So, what's that feeling like for you? I wanted to know, when someone that you're house hunting or whatever it is, that feeling you get when they finally secure their dream house, their dream
Yeah.
home, whether it be a couple, again, a family, or someone, an individual looking, and you secure that, that feeling that you get of happiness. And
Yes.
what have you heard from your clients, I could say?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the main thing that I do that might be a little different than what other realtors do is
Mhm.
I like to really understand my client's story.
Okay.
And I think that's where the social work skills and
Come
that
in.
sort of passion come into
Mhm.
real estate for me.
Mhm.
Is I take a lot of time at the beginning to understand, why do they want to purchase a home?
Okay.
What need is that fulfilling? Like, why is that so important for them to have a 3-bedroom home with 3 bathrooms,
Okay.
right? Why is it important for them to have like a bungalow that has a ramp to go up to the main door, right?
Mhm.
And then I start to listen to them, and I find out, okay, well, the reason why they need the ramp is because they have an elderly parent who's having difficulty walking now, and they don't want her to go into a nursing home. They want her to live with them. So they need to have something that has accessibility. And they want a bungalow because they need more space so they can get around and we don't have to deal with stairs. And once I hear that,
Mhm.
right, that motivates me,
Okay.
because now I know that it's not just a transaction. Like, there's a real purpose here, right? I
Mhm.
need to find something that's going to make this family's life better,
Mhm.
that's going to make their ability to keep their mother with them in their home possible,
Mhm.
right? So when I find that right property for them, and I
Yeah.
see how elated and how like jovial and just happy they are that they found something that meets their needs, man, that just like, it just warms my heart. You know what I mean? It just makes me feel like, listen, I've accomplished something much greater than just making a commission on a sale,
Mhm.
right? I made a difference in somebody's life,
Right.
And so that's really my goal each time that I'm working with somebody is to find something that's unique between each individual to give me purpose for what I do, right? So for me, it's like, it's not like, although like, you know, obviously you get the commission and everything for doing what you do, but everybody should be compensated for the work that they do.
Yes.
So for me, how I look at it though, is that if I don't meet the goal of that person, if that person's needs are not met, then I haven't done my job, right? That's how I look at it. Like one time, Peter, man, I'll tell you, I searched for like 50 plus homes for this one woman.
Wow.
One time. Okay. And I was like, wait, that's a lot of homes. I mean,
yeah.
We're looking at too many properties. Like either I'm not hearing what you're really looking for, or you're not explaining it properly. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I remember after like the 45th home,
yeah,
I sat down with them and I had this conversation. I said, listen, like, what am I missing? I just feel like we haven't found anything for you and I don't know what's going on, right? And sometimes it's not even about what we've been looking at. Sometimes it's about what's happening in their life.
Wow, true.
You know what I mean? Like they just might be distracted right now. They have a lot of stress at work. They have something going on in the family. Maybe somebody's sick and they're just distracted, right? And that's why they haven't purchased. That's why they haven't nailed something down, you know? And in this case, that's what it was. You know, something was going on for their family personally. And we just needed to take a timeout. So we waited for about 2-3 weeks. And then after that, we went out looking again. And then, you know, 5+ homes later, we ended up finding the right fit.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So like I said, man, it really just depends on the individual and their story. That is really what motivates me. And once I find that out and I'm seeing that what I'm doing is actually meeting their need and making a difference in their life, that is really where the juice is, man. That's where I feel the most accomplished.
Yeah. Like to hear it, Jay. Like to hear it.
Man.
And you probably have many stories like that too, right?
Yeah.
So Jay, on the owner's perspective,
yes,
and this is for a lot of us out there, even myself, getting investment property now, because we touched on that in the beginning.
Right.
But there was a lot of questions around it. I don't even know how to pose the questions right now. But one of the main questions was, when you want to invest, is it better to buy, and I know you're going to have different angles on this, but an existing property or like a pre-construction property? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so we're talking about resale homes and we're talking about newly built homes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you're buying a resale home, right, there are pros and cons to doing that, right? The main thing is that you want something that, it depends. If you are somebody who is willing to fix up the property, then you could buy it done, right? As long as it's structurally sound, you could buy it done, just gut it and sort of refinish that property, right? Renovate it. And then all of a sudden you have a brand new property again. Now you could do a couple of things with it. You can either, you know, rent it out, or you can resell it and just flip it. Like there's a lot of different things that you could do with a property like that. Okay. Now, the beauty of it is that it's an established neighborhood, right? So a lot of things might already be in place. Things like the fence, things like the driveway, like trees. I mean, just things that we take for granted, right?
Right.
May already be in place, right?
Yeah.
And you also have an established sort of demographic in an area that's already built as well, right?
Okay.
And so sometimes that helps to identify like what's your target market. Okay, so if you're looking for a particular type of renter, or if you're looking for a particular type of purchaser because you want to flip the property, then you have a better idea, how do I market this property to that clientele, right? So the beauty of having a resale property is just that it's established. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you already know about it. All right. So that's a good thing. The thing with buying a brand new property, right, when you're purchasing as an investment, is that you're getting it from the ground, right? And what I always tell people is that you have to look at real estate appreciation in terms of 10 to 15 years, right? And the reason why I say that is because once you build a property in a brand new area, it's going to take about 10 years for it to be fully established.
Get it.
Meaning that roads have gone in, schools have gone in, businesses have gone in, other homes have gone in, and you start to see that area develop into something that is, you know, recognizable.
Right.
Right. So all of those things, like when roads go in, when schools go in, when parks go in and businesses, all these things could help to appreciate the value of that property, right? And remember I was talking about furnaces and ACs and windows and roofs and that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Most of those things you have to start looking at about the 10-year mark, between 10 and 15 years, okay? So that's why I have a time frame of about 10 to 15 years of when you should hold an investment for.
Okay.
Right? So if I buy a brand new property, I sort of want to have that property at least a couple of mortgage terms. So most mortgage terms are about 5 years, right? So I like to have it for a couple of mortgage terms. And after my second mortgage term, I now need to start thinking about whether or not I want to hold the property or sell the property.
Okay.
And that's the thing that you want when you're looking at a brand new construction.
Okay.
In order to maximize, have the maximum amount of appreciation, I feel that you need to hold that property for at least 10 to 12 years. 12 years is kind of the prime time for you to think about maybe selling it, right? Because I feel like all the things that would have helped that property to have natural appreciation have already happened.
Okay.
But at 12 to 15 years, that's when certain things start to break down. So now the roof starts to break down, the windows, right? Your furnace, AC. So you want to get out before those things kind of start costing you money. Because everybody talked about that $30,000, right?
Right,
if everything happens at once, now I got to dump 30,000 into it. I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say between 10 and 12 is a good time, right? So with the new property, it's just you can have natural appreciation without doing anything to it. I can increase the value of the property. Okay. With a resale property, depending on the age of it when you get it, right? You may have to put money into it in order to increase the value of it.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So when you're thinking of the two, it's sort of, we have to know what is your objective from an investment standpoint. Like, what's your investment objective? And based on that, that'll tell you what type of property to buy.
Okay.
Okay. So that's sort of the approach that I take with my clients when they want to buy an investment property.
Okay, that makes sense. We're in COVID times now. It's kind of like looser than, the 2020 when it happened. We're on the lockdowns. How did that affect you and the real estate game?
Well, me personally, listen, I had probably one of my best years in 2020. I didn't know what was going to happen. Like when COVID hit, definitely I thought like, okay, everything's going to go in the toilet. Like we're not going to be doing any business for a while. And I was like thinking about like, what else should I be doing? Maybe I should be thinking about a different profession because I just didn't know where things were going to go. And that happened maybe for about 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, like they said, okay, yeah, real estate activities can continue. And then all of a sudden, we just started seeing like sales, people wanting to buy, people wanting to sell. It just became like a whirlwind of opportunities.
Wow.
And like I said, that was a record year for me. I sold the most, and I sold the most properties ever sold. And I sold the most expensive properties ever sold during that year. So I was amazed. Now, people usually ask me, okay, well, what do you think was the contributing factor? Like, why did people do that, right? And I honestly think that it was a little bit of cabin fever. I think that people couldn't spend their money anywhere else.
Right.
So they feel like they got to spend their money. So people got into real estate, and there was a supply and demand issue. So anytime a property went on the market, like everybody was on top of it.
So it was a seller's market, right?
100%.
Right.
100% seller's market. And people were taking advantage of that. And then it just ballooned and ballooned and ballooned. And to be honest, like, I just feel like that really was the driver of our economy. When everything else was not happening, real estate was the only thing going on. And that was where all the money was being flowed.
One question I have, because we're talking about the value of houses, especially in Toronto. I know, well, I don't know, but I don't think housing prices will ever go down, right? So you know how we're at that over million mark in a lot of the GTA. How can that survive? How can we sustain any infrastructure, or even how can people live in Toronto? Like, it's all going to be people with money, like, and we're all going to be pushed out. Am I correct in saying that?
That's my belief. That's my belief that it's definitely not sustainable. And like I was saying before earlier in our conversation, is that I don't believe that the income levels are keeping pace with the prices of homes, right? So the people that are sort of in the middle of the road, the middle class, so to speak, they are going to be pushed out into the suburbs, right? In the outskirts of the city. And only the rich are going to be the ones to be able to afford properties in the Toronto region, like the 416 area code, right? And, you know, it's almost a similar situation like what's happening in New York, right? In New York, it's kind of like the objective or the aspiration is to rent an apartment. Because that's all you can afford in the city, right? Only the rich really own the apartments or own the buildings, right? And I feel like that's what's going to happen in the Toronto region as well, right? Is that properties is going to become so inflated and so pricey that, you know, the average person's not going to be able to do it. And that's why I was saying before, the only answer to that is pooling your resources together.
I get it.
You got to have people coming together and saying, listen, we're going to put our money together and buy something so we can stay in the area that we want, right? Because if you try to do it solo, it's going to be challenging unless you're like, you know, making $500,000 a year or more, right? As far as prices coming down, man, I don't see it happening. Probably not for at least another 2-3 years. That's my opinion, right? Because I think everything is connected to the interest rates. If money's cheap, people are going to spend more. Okay. And interest rates are like historically low.
Right now,
Right. And with the prices of properties, like everything kind of works together, right? If the prices are high, then the interest rate's got to be low, because if they're not low, then nobody will be able to afford a mortgage. Right. So what we need is we need our economy to balance out a bit. All right. And we really need to have interest rates go up. I know people don't want to hear that, but the only way for money to be, or the only way for prices to come down is for money to be more expensive, because then people won't spend as much.
Yeah, it's that whole supply and demand thing, right? If the demand is high, people can put things at prices they want to put it at. And speaking on that, I know we're talking about the market value of your house. So I can get what is it called, a pre-appraisal, some appraisal on what's my house value. But if I put renovations into my house and I do all this work, what's the unwritten rules of what can you list your house at? If I feel my house is worth something, but the market says it's this, can I put it at whatever I want, but still being realistic?
Okay, that's a strategy question, right? Because you can't just operate like you're on an island. You have to look and see what's happening around you. Okay, if you have, if everything's selling for $1 million, and you decide, hey, listen, I'm going to put a whole bunch of renovations into my property, and now I'm going to list it for 1.2, right? Like, you're overpriced. Right? You're overpriced. And so you got to be able to justify that value. Now, often what can happen is if you look around and you see, okay, everybody in your neighborhood, for the most part, has hardwood floors. And everybody has, you know, maybe pot lights. A lot of people have finished basements, but they're not necessarily apartments. They're just sort of rec rooms. People have some nice landscaping, not like over the top landscaping, but they have some nice interlock walkways and nice flower beds, this kind of stuff. And in the back, not everybody has a pool, just people have nice yards with a nice deck. Nothing over the top, just a nice, well-maintained property. And all of those properties are selling for $1 million. You don't have to do anything more, right? Just do the same things, right? A lot of times what people do is they over improve their property. They're taking a property that's in Ajax and dressing it up like it's in Forest Hill. All right. It's like, one of these things doesn't belong here, right? You know what I mean? And so this is what I tell people. I say, listen, you have to renovate your property based on kind of conformity. I get it. All right. Look at the landscape of your neighborhood. And don't kind of go over the top of what's happening in your area. All right. You sort of want to keep things around the same level, because sometimes the property is over improved. If you're the best house in the block, you may not get the money you're looking for, because people can get a house that's very similar, for a lot less, and they can renovate it just like how you renovate it for a lot less.
I get it.
Than what you're asking. So what I say is this, rule of thumb is this, all right? The things that are going to make you more money, okay, definitely are going to be kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, and lighting. Okay. Those are the main things, all right? So if you were looking best bang for your buck, to be truthful, beyond all of those things, is paint your house.
True. Yeah.
Paint is going to give you the best bang for your buck, okay? And that's going to make your house look so much different. Flooring is the next thing. Nobody wants carpet nowadays. So if you have any sort of wood flooring, whether it's laminate or whether it's hardwood floors, it really doesn't matter. To be honest with you, people are going to buy it and be happy with it as long as it's not carpet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Lighting is a big deal because that just makes your property look better. All right. So if you invested in just those things, if you invested in just flooring, paint, and lighting, you would drastically improve your property for little to nothing. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
The big ticket items are going to be kitchens, bathrooms. All right. Basements is sort of a subjective value type of thing. All right.
Okay.
It's a preference thing. If you like your basement, how it's renovated, then be happy with that. But don't be expecting people to pay you so much more for your property because you have a basement.
You did. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's subjective. They may like it, they may not like it, right? They may say, I want to tear it up and do something different. So now that becomes an expense to them.
Right.
Okay. So focus on the things that are sort of neutral and common amongst most people in terms of what they believe to be value. Paint, lighting, flooring are your main things that you should do to your house if you want to improve the value.
Right. Good advice, Jay. Good advice.
Yeah.
Yo, my last question. We've seen Toronto transform into like a jungle of condos. And I see cranes everywhere for the last 10 years, over 10 years. It's just cranes everywhere.
Yeah.
What's with that? Are they ever going to stop building condos? Because even the quality of them, I hear there's a lot of issues. What's your take on that?
Well, like we said before, right? It's trying to address an affordability issue. All right. We don't have land in Toronto. So the little land that we do have, we have to build up in order to increase density. Okay. Right. So there's no other options than to build condos. All right. They can't build these huge subdivisions down at like Bathurst and Lakeshore, right? There's nothing, there's nothing available unless you want to be in the water. Like, come on, then we have to have like subdivisions of like houseboats. Right? Our boathouses or whatever, right? It's just that there isn't enough land, okay, for them to build houses. So they have to build up, which means they have to build buildings. All right. And if you have these small little units that are in the Toronto region, then it becomes a little bit more affordable for people to stay there. Okay. But as you know, that's not practical for a large family. Right. Okay. So remember I said before, I believe that condos are sort of built for people at different stages in their life, right? So if they're a single person, if they're a couple, if they have maybe one child, it's suitable, right? But once you get beyond that, it becomes a little tight. Right. Okay. And then you have to move outside of the city in order to find something reasonable. Yeah. Right. But you're not going to see any stoppage of buildings going up because it's also a revenue stream for the city. So they're going to encourage that, right? You're getting property taxes from each one of those owners in that building. Right. So that's never going to stop. So we're not going to get around that, unfortunately.
But do you see how Yonge Street looks now? It's kind of unrecognizable. All of the old stores, they took down Sam the Record Man a while ago. Yes. But there's a lot of big condos going up. Young and Bloor, like it's just crazy. But
it's just we're just trying to deal with the affordability issue. So for people that want to stay in the city, this is the option they have. You know, it's as simple as that. And it's the only way to do it, right? To keep people in the city if that's where they want to be, or else they gotta, spend like $2-3 million, $4 million to purchase a detached home in the city, right? So okay,
Jay. Okay, Jay, we come to the point in the interview, right? I'm gonna show you 3 balloons. Okay. Depending on which one you choose, I will know which donation, which charity that I'm donating to.
Okay.
And it
All
could
right.
be ALS, Alzheimer's, or cancer. Jay, I'm holding 3 balloons in my hand.
Okay, man.
And you tell me which one to pop.
All right. Well, I want to pop the shiny one, which is my right. Oh, which one is it?
The 14th charity Scorpio is donating to is
Alzheimer's. All right.
right?
All right, I do. Alzheimer's Society.
Alzheimer's Society.
Wonderful, man.
All right, good, Jay. Thanks for coming out. Let the people know where they can find you. You have a website, right? Let us know your website.
I do. It is called thetransitionalrealtor.com. Thetransitionalrealtor.com. And the reason why it's called that is because I believe that I help people at different transitional periods within their life. And each transitional period, you need a voice of reason. You need someone to guide you through that transition. And that is what I do when people are looking for a home. All right. So the transitionalrealtor.com is where you find me. You can always reach me directly at 647-999-7809, or you can email me at jason@thetransitionalrealtor.com. So look forward to hearing from you.
That's deep. And just let you know, someone who's following me on Instagram said they know you too after I put up the teaser on Instagram.
All right.
So yeah.
Sweet.
All right,
good
Jay.
stuff, man.
Thanks for coming out.
Yes.
Episode 14 in the books, and we out.
All right. Later, everybody.